there?
Sure. Yeah, we don't have anything to declare.
We just had a successful border crossing back in Mexico, in Reynosa.
Not much of a search at all. They just kind of had a little looky poke around, but
we did get the red light, yeah, but they didn't feel like looking at it too much, so that's good. We got our new permit for the vehicle, which we have to get. And now we're headed south into Mexico.
We're going to slow this down a bit because we can't sleep in the car that easy. Well, we can't lay the seats down. So this will be about a 2 to 3 day drive. 3 day full drive probably down to Chiapas, Puerto Chiapas. We'll drop everything off, we'll turn around and come back and do it again.
Not super excited to do the drive again, but we are excited to get to show it to you this time since we lost all of our footage last time.
And we're excited to see Varuna.
Beautiful drive, and yes, very excited to see Varuna.
Very excited. All Mexico things just never finished.
So wishes you happy journeys. You might be wondering why we are going down the east coast of Mexico when Varuna's over on the west coast. Well, we discovered last time when we did this drive, we were looking at different routes and whatnot, and the driving distance within Mexico is much shorter on the east coast. We can stay on the interstates all throughout the U.S., all the way down to the very tip of Texas. And then when we cross there and head down to Chiapas, it's about half the driving distance in Mexico as if we were going down the middle or the west coast. As you can probably tell, not all of the roads are really great in Mexico. The toll roads are awesome. They're not cheap though. Cost us about $70 or something last time to go each direction. So toll roads are good, but not all of them are toll roads and much slower. So our plan was to stay on the interstates in the U.S. as much as possible and then do our Mexico driving now. Just outside of Reynosa, which is in the very northeast corner of Mexico, we drove through lots of farmland. In the distance, beyond the farms, there were lots of wind turbines, which has been a growing industry here. In August of this year, this wind farm became the largest in Latin America, producing nearly 1,000 gigawatts of energy.
Car with a person inside of it, the door open on it.
You might be able to tell from our clothing, it is quite cold here, very different from last time, and I think pretty unusual for this area to be this cold.
It's been really overcast, well, since we left Arizona, really, or even in Arizona a bit. There's a lot of rain in Texas.
A lot of rain, which, I don't know, maybe even that's still some of that remnants from that storm.
I don't know.
Because I know it was over Arizona, that remnants from Sergio.
But it is different and it's exciting because it means hopefully it won't be a very warm drive down. Last time we did this drive, it was quite warm.
Crazy hot.
Our air conditioner's not really working right now. The Freon's not staying charged. It just keeps leaking out somewhere.
So it's a good thing it's cooler. Mostly out of the towns and the more industrial farmland, we continued south along Mexico's east coast through lush, beautiful countrysides on fairly good roads, but as always the case in Mexico, with some interesting vehicles and driving. Day 2 in Mexico. Spent last night in the town of Tampico.
Much better than the first time we did this because we did not sleep in the car. We have no room to sleep in the car. So we had a hotel last night. And it's a nice town, very industrial town, but there's a nice center part to it as well.
Yeah, very busy little town. Yeah, quite industrial. There's a big port area here, a lot of big
oil
companies,
refineries and
oil
stuff
refineries.
too. Right on the Gulf here, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, tons of businesses. It's a busy town, but now we're on our way back through the country. Hopefully some nice toll roads today. We didn't get any toll roads yesterday.
Towards Veracruz tonight.
Headed to Veracruz. Just south of Tampico was the worst section of roads on the drive, full of potholes, speed bumps, and thanks to the rain, lots of mud. Needless to say, we couldn't have been happier to see the toll booth come into view on the horizon. So much better!
Toll road is good.
Look at that!
Oh. Now we're just gonna have to check the tyres after all those potholes. Hopefully the car's holding together here and we can get a few more 1,000 miles out of her.
It seems Mexico has been very busy building a whole new system of roads, which cut hours off driving times. Nearly all of the toll roads cut through farmland and countryside, and make for some lovely driving. And so we drove through farmland, and we drove through rain. And then we got our first sight of the ocean and the Gulf of Mexico, which looked very choppy, brown, and stirred up by all the rainwater runoff.
Get a nice view of town. Oh.
Wow.
No lanes here.
Finally, we came into the big historic port town of Veracruz, where we'd stop for the night before turning west to cross the Isthmus of Mexico and head to Chiapas. Our third day back on the road started off with truck stops, busy roads, and more rain.
I don't know what's going on at church.
Yeah, I don't know.
Got a three-way. Oh no, wait, yep, maybe. Maybe not. He's like not happy. He's like, wait. He's like, okay, I'll go around you. Wow. Oh man, look at that back there. That's crazy. Oh, that is
It's a lot of water. Throughout our whole drive down, we had noticed the rivers looking very full and muddy due to all of the rains. And today we found several rivers that had breached their banks and were flooding into the nearby lowlands. As we came out to the western side of the isthmus near the Gulf of Tehuantepec, another huge wind farm came into view. If you're a sailor, you probably know that Tehuantepec has a reputation for being a very windy place, as winds funnel across the narrow gap of land from the Gulf of Mexico, so this is a logical place for such a thing. And it turns out that up until the wind farm that we had passed up in Reynosa was opened earlier this year, this used to be the largest wind farm in Latin America. However, it was very sad to see the trash dumps on the side of the road right in front of it, knowing that there was a good chance much of this would end up blowing away into rivers and eventually the ocean. Finally, we reached the state of Chiapas and began to close in on Varuna. As we made our way along the coast, the skies darkened and the rain began to fall. We had been watching the weather, and Tropical Storm Vicente had formed right off the coast of Guatemala, which is quite rare, and lots of rain was expected. And then it was the home stretch. After driving nearly 3,900 miles or 6,000 kilometers fully loaded, dinghy and all, our little car had made it all the way back to Varuna. Back on Varuna, other than a bit of rust and a bird's nest on the mainsail bag, all was well. We did a mass unload, semi-unpack, and then it was back in the car to do the whole drive in reverse. Because it's technically not legal for foreigners to sell anything in Mexico, and because we would likely get a better price, we turned around and drove the car back to the States to leave with family to sell. With Tropical Storm Vicente now blown out to sea, the skies cleared and we had a gorgeous drive leaving Chiapas. Probably one of the best things about driving in Mexico is the gas stations are awesome. They're everywhere, all over the side of the road. Super friendly people. They fill your gas for you. They check your tires, wash your windshield. And this one is in a beautiful location. We got mountains over there, beautiful jungle all around us, and really nice, friendly, helpful people. Bathrooms, snacks, everything you need.
Petrol station. This is my toilet paper. Ándale.
Ándale.
¿Listo?
Vámonos.
Vámonos Veracruz hoy. Veracruz hoy, yeah? Mm-hmm. Something like that. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
It's beautiful down here though, and it was a good morning. There's one pretty good hurricane looking like it's heading for Mazatlan.
Yeah.
Hopefully that doesn't eventuate, but it's something to keep an eye on, people.
The one that formed off here looks like it won't be too much.
Vicente, yeah, I think it might just be a storm that goes up the coast. But nice and safe down here, no problems here at all. They did close the harbour though, so it's better safe than sorry, I guess they thought.
Passing under tree canopy tunnels and all sorts of forms of transport, this section of road in Chiapas was one of the most beautiful. The road was not without lots and lots of police and military checkpoints, which were always very friendly and professional.
Buenos días. De Puerto Chiapas.
Puerto Chiapas.
Sí.
¿Se dirige?
Sí, tenemos un barco allá. Vamos para los Estados Unidos.
A los Estados Unidos. ¿Se puede abrir tantos papeles, por favor, lo molesta?
Back on the toll roads, we took a different route back, winding up into some stunningly beautiful mountains. Up in the mountains, there was a huge reservoir created by Malpaso Dam, where we stopped for a bite to eat, wandering and admiring the view as we waited for our food.
Ahí dale este su cambio.
We're about halfway across to the Caribbean Sea here. We've just stopped at this really nice lake.
Big kind of like dammed off reservoir, huge lake. Stopped and got some food, got a couple of quesadillas, 2 carne quesadillas for 50 pesos, about $2.50.
We're going to chuck the drone up and see if it'll follow us across the bridge, and then we're going to make our way onto Veracruz.
Yeah.
We've got about 5 hours, I think.
Something like that.
So Veracruz, this is a really pretty good toll road actually. We're making good time on it. And then we'll see if we can go a bit further today to Dark, probably a little bit north of Veracruz today is our plan.
See how we do, make as much time as we can, but awesome lake coming up. Beneath the bridge were lots of aquaculture pens and beautiful water that contrasted against the red soil and lush green hillsides. Of course, even after you think you've seen it all, driving in Mexico will always surprise you with some new sights.
Oh, Mr. Gal!
I didn't get a shot of the truck, but...
Well, we'll go by it if we can get back there.
Down the road a ways, we came to a complete stop in a big traffic jam. As we passed by, we saw the holdup was due to an overturned cattle truck. There were cows all over the highway, and everyone had gotten out of their cars to help round up the freed cattle. Everyone's got their...
Oh, look, they're all got lassos here.
Uh-huh. Oh.
Oh, he's probably really dead.
Yeah. As we neared northern Mexico, we left the lovely toll roads behind, getting one last taste of potholes and rain before heading back to the States. That's all for this time. Thanks so much for joining us for a bit of a different journey through Mexico, and a huge thanks to our patrons who keep these videos coming. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to give us a thumbs up, and don't forget to click the bell to get notified of our latest episode. Until next time, adios.